Ever find yourself listening to a podcast and you get so engrossed that you want to just jump right in and ask a question?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I know that feeling. It's like you're right there with them, but you just can't quite.
Exactly. And it makes you realize how much we crave that back and forth, that spark of a new thought.
It's how we're wired, right? To learn and engage through conversation.
100%. But what if I told you that podcasts are on the verge of getting a whole lot more, well, interactive?
Now, that's something I'd love to hear more about. Are we talking about those Choose Your Own Adventure podcasts?
Kind of, but think way beyond that. We're talking about actually stepping inside a podcast, like it's a virtual world.
Hold on now, that's interesting. How does that even work?
Well, we dove into some fascinating research on this new platform that uses a powerful combination of AI and augmented reality.
Okay, now you've really piqued my curiosity. AI and AR in podcasts? That's a new one.
Right, so picture this. You put on your headphones, and suddenly you're not just hearing voices, you're in a virtual studio.
Like, I can actually see the hosts.
Even better. You see avatars of the podcast guests, but not those stiff, lifeless figures.
Yeah, those are always a bit off-putting.
Right. We're talking incredibly realistic avatars designed to move and react just like real people.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. What about the AI part? Where does that come in?
Well, the AI is the magic ingredient here. It analyzes the podcast conversation in real time.
Okay, so it's not just pre-programmed responses.
Not at all. It allows these avatars to actually respond to your questions in a way that makes sense in the context of the discussion.
So it's like having a direct line to an expert panel that's completely dedicated to answering your questions.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
like the smartest search engine you've ever used, but built right into your headphones. You have a question, just ask.
Now that is something I could get behind. No more frantic Googling while I'm trying to listen.
Right. And it gets even better. They have this join the conversation feature that just blew my mind.
Join the conversation. Now I'm really intrigued. Tell me more.
So say you're listening to a hot debate on, let's say, the future of work, and something an avatar says sparks a thought.
Something you passionately agree or disagree with happens all the time.
Instead of just letting it simmer, you can actually hit pause, no more yelling at your phone, and jump right into the conversation.
Wow. So I actually become an active participant in this expert roundtable, voicing my opinions and everything.
Exactly. It's like teleporting into the heart of a TED Talk, except you're not just an audience member, you're an active participant.
That's next level podcast engagement. I can't even imagine.
Ah.
Wait, do the other avatars react to what you're saying?
You bet. You can actually see their reactions as you make your points, which takes the whole experience to a whole new level. I know what you're thinking. All of this sounds fun and cool, but how does it help me actually learn something?
Right, get to the good stuff.
And that's the best part. This platform is practically designed to make those light bulb moments happen.
Okay, I'm all ears. How does it do that?
Well, one of the most powerful features is something called perspective switching.
Perspective switching.
Yeah, it's a complete game changer when it comes to wrapping your head around those really complex, nuanced issues.
Give me an example. Like, how would that even work in practice?
Okay, imagine you're listening to a discussion about, let's say, different economic systems, right?
Okay, got it. I'm following.
And you hear a really strong critique of, say, a socialist model. Now imagine being able to just instantly switch perspectives,
Oh, wow. I see where you're going with this.
and you suddenly experience the entire conversation from the viewpoint of someone who's actually lived under that system.
That would definitely change your perspective, wouldn't it?
It's like you're suddenly seeing the issue through an entirely different lens. You're not just reading a textbook definition anymore.
You're actually feeling the weight of those arguments, understanding the human impact. That's powerful.
Exactly. And it's not just about empathy, though that's a big part of it.
It's about breaking out of your own echo chamber, right?
Right.
Really understanding where someone else is coming from.
Yes. And maybe you don't agree with everything you hear, but you walk away with this much richer understanding.
I could see how that would be a game changer for learning.
And speaking of getting a richer understanding, this platform also has another trick up its sleeve I think you'll appreciate.
Oh, lay it on me.
Yeah.
I'm all for making learning more efficient.
Remember how much we hate information overload?
Who doesn't? It's the bane of my existence.
Well, say goodbye to information overload with personalized recommendations.
Wait, personalized how? Like tailored to my interests.
Exactly. This platform doesn't just answer your questions, it learns what you're actually interested in and recommends content just for you.
So if I'm obsessed with a specific historical event, for example,
It won't just point you to some generic history podcast.
It might recommend episodes that really go deep on the economic impact or the social ripple effects.
Or even the artistic responses to that event, all because it knows what you've engaged with before.
That's incredible. It's like having a curated reading list, but for your ears.
Exactly. Now, this all sounds amazing, and it really is exciting, but we also need to be real for a second and talk about the challenges.
Right, because with any new technology, especially in learning, there are always two sides to the coin.
This kind of technology has the potential to revolutionize education, make it more engaging.
But we also have to think about things like, how do we make sure the information is accurate?
And what about keeping those conversations respectful, especially when you have strong opinions flying around?
And we can't forget about accessibility. Not everyone has access to the latest tech.
You're hitting all the right points. Those are real concerns, and we're going to dive into each one.
Okay, good, because I have a lot of thoughts on this. Let's start with respectful dialogue.
Okay, so respectful dialogue. We've all seen how heated online discussions can get, right?
Oh, tell me about it. It feels like it's almost impossible to have a nuanced conversation online these days.
So how does this platform prevent things from going off the rails when you've got people with really strong opinions butting heads?
That's where having really robust content moderation comes in.
Okay, so kind of like what we see on social media platforms, but hopefully more effective.
Well, hopefully much more effective.
Yeah.
The platform would need super clear community guidelines from the get-go.
To set the tone. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they also need effective ways to actually identify and address things like, cyberbullying.
Hate speech, misinformation.
All of that. And this isn't about censoring opinions. It's about creating a space where everyone feels safe sharing.
Even when, and this is important, even when they disagree.
100%.
Ah,
So it's like having a digital moderator who can step in if things start to get out of hand.
exactly. But beyond just keeping things civil, how do we make sure the information itself is accurate?
Right, because anyone can record a podcast doesn't mean they're an expert on the topic.
It's that classic dilemma, right? It's just because you see it online or even hear it in a podcast, it doesn't automatically make it true.
Exactly. And with a platform like this, where you're really encouraging deeper engagement, we have to be extra careful about misinformation.
So how do we prevent this platform from becoming, a breeding ground for bad information?
Well, for starters, they need some serious quality control measures in place.
Like a vetting process for creators, maybe?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe verifying their credentials, making sure they have actual expertise.
So listeners know they're getting information from a trustworthy source.
Exactly. And maybe even give listeners some tools to flag content that seems iffy.
Oh, I like that. A crowdsourced fact-checking system almost.
Exactly. Because we can all do our part to make sure the information out there is accurate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about respectful dialogue, ensuring quality content,
Mm-hmm.
but there's one more big one we need to address.
Accessibility, right.
Exactly. Not everyone can afford the latest gadgets or has super fast internet all the time.
Which is crucial for this kind of immersive platform, you're right.
So how do we make sure that this incredible technology doesn't end up leaving people behind?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's something the developers really need to prioritize.
What kind of solutions are we talking about?
Well, they could think about offering offline capabilities, for example, so people could download content and engage with it even without a connection.
Oh, that's a fantastic idea, especially for people in areas with spotty internet or those with limited data plans.
Exactly. And optimizing the platform for low bandwidth usage would be huge, making sure it still runs smoothly even on a slower connection.
Because otherwise it just becomes a frustrating experience.
Exactly. And, exploring things like audio-only versions
Mhm.
for people who aren't able to engage with the visual elements for whatever reason.
Making it more inclusive that way. I love that. It's about making sure everyone has a chance to experience this new wave of interactive learning.
Because in the end, that's what's so exciting about this, isn't it? It's not just about, oh, cool new tech.
It really has the potential to transform how we learn, how we connect with different viewpoints, even how we connect with each other.
It's about fostering a deeper understanding of the world around us, and that's something I think we could all use a little more of these days.
Couldn't agree more. It feels like we're on the verge of something truly groundbreaking. But now we want to hear from you.
Yes. Let's open up the conversation.
If you could create an interactive podcast, what would it be about? What burning questions would you ask the avatars? What perspectives are you just dying to explore?
Head over to our social media and let us know.
We can't wait to hear your thoughts. Until next time, keep those ears tuned for knowledge and those minds curious.